We have some major news surrounding Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland in the predicament going on out in Cleveland, as well as more updates not only on that, but also for the Miami Heat and the Jimmy Butler situation. We'll break down all of that on this episode of Heat Digest, but please remember to subscribe to the channel, as 84% of you guys currently watching this video are not currently subscribed to the channel, and we literally need one subscribers. We're at 1399. We need one more subscriber to hit the goal of 1400. So if you could scroll down and click that subscribe button if you're part of that 84%. We do appreciate it. Thank you so much. But now let's break down how Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland's breakup could possibly result in a win for the Miami Heat. Now, there's a lot of conversations going on surrounding, obviously, Donovan Mitchell and the Cleveland Cavaliers, as well as now as Darius Garland. Now, this from Run It Back, the Run It Back podcast hosted by Shams Charania, who we all know he's one of the biggest insiders in the game of basketball, and he went on to say this in the episode, and I quote, "The Cavs are going to seriously evaluate the fit between Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. I'm told if Mitchell does decide to stay long-term Garland's representation, they would have a conversation about the potential of a new home for him." End of quote. Again, that is from Shams on his podcast. This is a massive piece of information. This was immediately following the loss from Cleveland to the Boston Celtics in Game 5 of their playoff run from 3 days ago, May 16th. But it didn't end there, as Legion Hoops also was hearing the murmurs, hearing the rumors, and goes on to say tons of rumors going around that Darius Garland will request a trade from the Cavaliers. Which team should trade for him? Now, let me know down in the comments. Even if it's not the Miami Heat, let me know down in the comments, who do you think could use someone like Darius Garland? If you have not seen him play, he's a high-level guard. He's very energetic, if you will. Not the most athletic man in the world. Definitely has some bounce to him, but again, not really what is separating him from everyone else. His handle on the basketball is ridiculous. If you want to see something fun, like Jamal Crawford-esque type of dribbling, look up his summer runs. He has the ball on a string, to say the least. Great basketball player. Overall, his stats are pretty good. I have them here. For this past regular season, he averaged 18.4 points per game, 2.6 rebounds per game, and 6.7 assists per game, with just over a steal, while shooting 44.8% from the field and 38% from behind the three-point line. Overall, not a bad player. A really, really collect player. He really can get the job done. He's obviously not a clear, flat-out all-star, especially even in the Eastern Conference. But again, he's one of those guys right on the cusp of it. If he could just increase his points by just maybe 2 baskets a game, or maybe even just an assist or 2 assists more a game, he would be considered a clear-cut all-star. Right now at 18, 2.5, and 6. Basically 7 assists a game with just a steal a game. He's a good player. He played for a good team this year in the Cleveland Cavaliers that just ran into a better team and a healthier team at that in the Boston Celtics. But it doesn't end there. Brian Windhorst on NBA Central mentions the Lakers, Heat, and Nets as potentially Houston as teams expected to line up for Donovan Mitchell this summer. Now, the speculation is never going to end between Donovan Mitchell and the Miami Heat. It seems like year after year, this happens every time. Whether it's right before the trade deadline, in the middle of a regular season, where both teams are contending for the Eastern Conference Championship, if not even a long playoff run to a championship run. But again, Donovan Mitchell and the Miami Heat are going to be in connections day after day, season after season. And whether or not he leaves Cleveland is going to be the biggest conversation. It really is. As Donovan Mitchell is an all-star level point guard, there's no conversation to it. He's an elite player, both ends of the floor. He gets the job done. Evan Sittery posted this on Twitter. Clutch Sports will indeed meet with the Cavaliers this offseason to facilitate Darius Garland being traded if Donovan Mitchell decides to stay at Windhorst ESPN, confirmed on ESPN Cleveland. If you don't know Brian Windhorst, that is who Windhorst ESPN is on Twitter, is from his hometown is Cleveland. He's from the state of Cleveland. Cleveland, Ohio, I should say, not the state of Cleveland, but Ohio. And obviously, he watched LeBron growing up, and he's been covering the game of basketball his entire life, it feels like, and he's one of the bigger insiders in the game. And again, him confirming this, it seems pretty concrete. So, it's going to come down whether or not Cleveland wants to keep Donovan Mitchell, or they want to see what they can get in return for Donovan Mitchell. Because the second they start picking up phones and answering phone calls, then hear trade proposals, you know there's going to be a surplus of assets thrown at them for Donovan Mitchell, whether it be Miami or not. Miami is definitely going to present a good offer, I would assume, as well as a bunch of other teams like listed here. Where was it? Where did we go? Right here, Lakers, Heat, Nets, and potentially Houston. All of these teams, excluding the Lakers, are relatively young. I know the Heat have Jimmy, Kevin Love. They have a few older pieces, but again, a majority of their lineup is pretty young overall. The Nets, obviously, a younger team. The Lakers, with LeBron and AD, not relatively the youngest. But again, Houston, I'm pretty sure statistically, is the youngest team in the entire NBA. At least was last year. If it was not them, it was definitely the Spurs or the Pistons. They have their average age is like 22, and we're talking about decimals here when we're arguing about who was actually the clear-cut youngest team by percentage. But again, overall, you know what I'm trying to say here. It's going to be interesting. Those trade packages are going to be massive, and it's going to be who can offer the most, whether or not they just want to flat out pay Donovan Mitchell, then rebuild around him, or keep Darius Garland, keep Evan Mobley, or keep the remaining just overall force that they have, rotation, the concrete foundation that they have already, move Donovan Mitchell and bring in a surplus of different pieces and assets, whether they be draft picks, young players overall, or just good key role players they can fit into this Cleveland system as it currently sits, if they were not to have Donovan Mitchell, which is again a huge piece of their entire program. But again, May 16th, 3 days ago, this really broke the internet because everyone thought Donovan Mitchell was telling Cleveland to F off and he was out. That was not the case. Woj came out on ESPN and said this about Donovan Mitchell, and I quote, "He is not disgruntled with anyone or anything in Cleveland. In fact, he said to me," and this is again a quote from Donovan Mitchell, "I am happy in Cleveland," he emphasized. "I am not leaving the season unhappy. I am leaving it more determined." Now, does this mean he's not leaving Cleveland? Absolutely not. He could be gone the second the window opens, which, again, we have major news about that as well, again, from Evan Siddery. Under new CBA rules, teams are now eligible to offer extensions to their own players immediately after the NBA Finals ends instead of waiting until the new league year. This means we should have clear answers on the futures of Donovan Mitchell, Jimmy Butler, and Brandon Ingram before the draft begins. Again, they all circle around, they make the circle touch here, if you will. So, big questions. Obviously, we have big questions in Miami with Jimmy Butler. He came out the first day after the Miami Heat season officially ended, losing to Boston in 5 games. Came out and he made his demands, if you will, about what he's expecting for a contract extension. The entire world caught fire because then Pat Riley came out at his postseason press conference, told Jimmy to keep his mouth shut, as well as a bunch of other things about the Miami Heat team. And then we have Cleveland, who's dealing with Donovan Mitchell. We heard trade speculation throughout this regular season involving him in the Miami Heat, obviously just like we did a year ago before going into this past season. And then it continues. And now with Donovan Mitchell and Cleveland possibly coming to a crossroads, whether or not they want to build around him or move him for all the assets they can possibly get because he's Donovan Mitchell and he holds such a high value. It's going to be a lot of big questions that are going to possibly be answered in middle of June, early to mid-June, if you will, because the NBA Finals, it all comes down to how these next series go. Obviously, Game 7 between the New York Knicks and the Indiana Pacers is literally going on as I'm recording this. The Pacers were up big, 15 at half, 70-55. I'm not sure what that score is currently. I cannot wait to check. But again, obviously, then we have the Game 7 between Minnesota and Denver. The winner of that will then play Dallas. And it's going to come down to when the NBA Finals ends, because the second that ends, like reported, I should say, from Evan Siddery, we're going to be able to get answers for these big names. And if Jimmy, again, gets re-signed, what does Miami do with the cap room they have available? Do they move someone like Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson along with other players to then open up some cap room and go out and get someone like Donovan Mitchell? Again, we're flirting with not having any depth and really being thin throughout the entirety of the roster. But again, it's a lot of big question marks. Donovan Mitchell, again, could sign an extension with Cleveland, and Darius Garland could become available and someone that the Miami Heat target if they would rather go at a younger age, a younger route, due to the fact that Darius Garland, this is Donovan Mitchell stats, but we all know he is a certified bucket, a great player overall, defensively as well as offensively. But then for Darius Garland. He is 24 years old. He just finished his 5th season in the NBA. He averaged 18, 2.7, and 6.5 with a steal per game, like we acknowledged earlier. He's a hell of a player, and if the Miami Heat wanted to go out and get him and move someone like Terry Rozier for more key pieces or just to open up some cap room, I would not even hate that. I'd actually enjoy to have that conversation. Let me know down below in the comments what you guys think about this possible idea of the Cleveland Cavaliers possibly having a massive breakup in the Miami, like, greatly benefiting from it, landing a big name player in Darius Garland or even Donovan Mitchell. But again, that'll be it for this episode of Heat Digest. Thought it'd be a quick little video for you guys. Thanks for watching. See you on the next.